Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to this edition of HeteroHIV. I'm your host and moderator, Reggie Smith. I'm a heterosexual Black man who was diagnosed with AIDS and hepatitis C in 1988 and probably contracted it in 84, sometime around that time, before I ended my active IV drug use 39 years ago. My wife, Dionne, and I have been together since 1985, and she remains HIV negative, thank God. Many things have changed around HIV over the past 40 years. Treatments and information have provided hope and longevity for many of us. Some things like stigma and fear of disclosure, unfortunately, remain the same. Over the past 3 years, our team here at the Reginald Dionne Smith Foundation have made significant strides in promoting a hetero-inclusive approach to HIV, advocacy, and awareness. Through our tireless efforts, we've challenged the dominant narrative surrounding HIV, emphasizing that it affects individuals of all backgrounds, orientations, and identities. Our commitment to fostering a culture of inclusivity and acceptance has resonated deeply within our community, leading to our increased engagement with many advocates, organizations, and health professionals that are aligned with our mission. During this time, we work diligently to infuse our messaging and imagery with hetero-inclusive themes, ensuring that everyone feels representative and empowered in our outreach efforts. By featuring those diverse faces and stories, we've begun to shatter some of the stereotypes and foster a sense of belonging among those impacted by HIV. This approach has not only raised awareness, but has also fostered a deeper understanding of the intersecting factors that contribute to the spread of HIV and the barriers to accessing care. The joy of seeing people find their tribe or share their truth for the first time, now that's immeasurable. By now, we all should know that the HIV affects spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well-being for all of us. It's an extremely intelligent retrovirus that has escaped our ability to find a cure or a vaccine to this point. So here on HeteroHIV, we are amplifying the voices of those courageous spirits working on all kinds of healing solutions for humans impacted by or at risk for HIV. Those of us who are blessed to be longtime survivors of HIV, both as hosts to the retrovirus and those impacted, well, we know that spirituality and being connected to a higher power is it's an essential part of our healing. Even though HIV is a human virus, we have somehow allowed HIV to trick us into separating ourselves into different groups based on race, gender, and sexual identity. Now, once it got us separated, HIV is using judgment and stigma to further traumatize us. And most of us have seen those movies where, the allies or the aliens attack and our planet and all the nations come together for the greater good, despite our differences. Well, HIV is kind of like an alien, right? I mean, somehow some humans think that they're excluded or immune from attack. But if you are a sexual being, you're eligible too. And you can have this experience if you're not careful. Either way, we all should have learned the greatest lesson from our experience with COVID. But have we? We're all affected by HIV. So let's all come together to end this epidemic right now. And every action begins with a thought. And our thoughts are inspired by spirit. Our actions are motivated by what we know and what we think we know. Wisdom is knowledge applied. And our experiences should provide us with some knowledge, but they don't always. That's why we are here sharing those stories at HeteroHIV. This is what we call the human experience, and that's what it's all about. Here on HeteroHIV and in all that we do here at the Reginald Dionne Smith Foundation, it's to share our experiences, our strengths, and knowledge in the hopes that we can all come together to end AIDS and the HIV epidemic. This episode features some of the Black women who are heroes in the effort to change and, yes, save lives of many And now and historically, they've been no perfect answers when it comes to HIV. Taking medications and disclosing one's status or participating in studies are all personal decisions. We're here to share the information and the personal stories so that you'll be able to make more informed decisions. For instance, did you know that heterosexual Black women are among the fastest rate of new HIV infections? PrEP, which we'll talk about more in a little bit, pre-exposure prophylaxis, is now available for everyone. But until recently, studies have been rarely done with heterosexual Black women. Our first guest tonight is Brandi Pinckney Greene, and she has been on the front line working with Black women as an MSN, FNP, BC. We'll explain that too. She's the owner of GMB Healthcare and an ambassador coordinator for HeteroHIV. She's doing some of the great work today that is making tomorrow's history. And we're honored to have her here to share her information and experiences with us. Please welcome with me, Miss Brandi Pinckney Greene. How are you, Brandi?
Hey, do I do a virtual clap? Hey, how are you? Hey, Reggie.
Thank you. Hey, Brandi, looking good. How are you feeling?
Well, thank you. I'm feeling great. Wonderful. Considering the pollen outside. Other than that, I'm wonderful. Thank you for the introduction.
Oh, yes. I didn't read your whole CV. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about what it is that you do.
Just a little bit, but I'm not here to talk about me per se. You know how I am. I'm here to make sure I advocate for those who I provide care for and to answer any questions or provide clarity. I am a board certified family nurse practitioner. I'm a proud graduate of the Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida. I have been a registered nurse for, oh my God, over 20 years, going into my 22nd year. I went back to college and I elevated my degree a little bit more. I became a board certified family nurse practitioner in 2017. And I really was taking a summer job back in 2019 in a clinic. And at that time, it was a clinic that focused on prevention. And it was supposed to be 4 hours a week just for the summer. And it turned into 6 years of advocacy, stepping in and taking care of patients and being an advocate for those who were being mistreated. I, too, had to address my own ignorance, my own stigma, bias in those situations. And I led the troops for that organization for 6 years and recently joined the HeteroHIV Society and Dr. Tim's Cook, who's a wonderful infectious disease physician. She's a great role model for me and other brown girls that look like me. My daughter was absolutely ecstatic to meet her, and she's a doctor. Oh my God, that's fabulous. Who looks like us? I'm like, and she acts just like us. We both shop at Home Goods. So listen, I have a great life and experience right now, and I am ready to continue to join forces with you, Ms. Dionne, who I love your wife, and everyone else in this community to help decrease this stigma, along with provide additional knowledge. I tell people often, if you don't trust the drug, I'm asking you to trust me. I've done the work for you, so.
Mm-hmm. And that's usually what happens. It's really about trusting people. And just full disclosure, you are part of the team, my medical team, with Dr. Tim's Cook, and my life is better for it.
I am. I'm excited. Yeah, you mentioned that. Wow, that makes me feel good. You sharing it to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, people need to know what is working for us, and that's what we want to share, our experiences and the healing solutions that we're using. So hey, and not only that, but Dr. Tim's Cook and you and the team are all the core of HeteroHIV. HeteroHIV. Talk a little bit about HeteroHIV.
So HeteroHIV, of course, was started by Dr. Tim's Cook and her team, I believe about 12 years ago. I've been blessed. I joined the team in October. And at HeteroHIV, we support women thriving, not just living, but thriving with HIV. And we also support our dandelions or the vertical transmission pediatric patients. And as they become adults, we help them with community resources. We provide medical transportation. We'll send a lift to them so they can get their medical appointments, because we know that's half the battle. If you can't make it to the appointment, how are you going to remain compliant with the appointment? And then once a month, we have support groups. And the support groups, we discuss a topic. Sometimes it's a heavy hitter topic. Last Monday, we discussed vertical transmission. Some people didn't even know what vertical transmission was.
What is it?
It's when the mother transfers the virus from herself to her baby. A dandelion is someone who identifies with having HIV from birth. So that means they received HIV vertical transmitted from their mother to them. Wow. And we had a beautiful mother and daughter who came to our support group, and they just provided this light to other dandelions and mothers who transferred the virus to their children. And I feel like they helped lift some guilt. I can't imagine being a mom, transferring the virus and not knowing. Even if you know it, it has some kind of guilt to it. And so this particular mother, over 30 years, had never spoke about it. And she came to our support group and she said it was the first time she said it out loud.
Yes. We're having that experience as well in our support groups with people that are impacted. And there's so many different situations, dynamics that HIV has caused in our families, that people are still carrying secrets for 30, 40 years. People that have passed on and when they died, people said that they had cancer, MS, something other than HIV, because of the social stigma attached to HIV. And you touched on so many different things that that I wanted to talk about. You talk about vertical transmission. First of all, is there still a lot of that going on? I know that people will be, if they don't know, glad to know that you still can have children if you have been diagnosed. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that for the women that might be concerned about that.
Yeah. We had a wonderful nurse practitioner who works in that arena, and we are proud, and the education and the evidence is there where you definitely can deliver a baby safe. Not only can you deliver a baby safe vaginally, you also can now breastfeed, which is amazing, because just 10 years ago, women who wanted to breastfeed who were HIV positive, almost defects was called on them if they were even caught breastfeeding. It was almost just a taboo, an absolute no-no. And now we can say out loud and proud that women not only can deliver their baby vaginally and not worry about the baby having HIV, as well as breastfeed. As a practitioner, I'm very honored that we've done the work that much. And we could tell our women that. Now, vertical transmission, it does unfortunately still occur. It should not occur. The numbers are very low, but yes, it does occur. If the HIV virus is not caught in the mother in a timely manner, and the pregnancy proceeds and delivery proceeds, and healthcare things happen, out of care, not going to physician's appointments. Unfortunately, some vertical transmission deliveries still occur. Very little. I don't have the exact stats, but I'll make sure I get them back to you. But nothing like in the 80s and the 90s.
Right. So there's still a lot of dandelions that are thriving. I've met a few, and tell a little bit about what their experiences must be like.
So for the few that I've had interaction with, had the privilege of also providing care for, it's like any other thing, Reggie. If you don't have support, if you don't have the understanding of your walk, and they have a sense of why did this happen to me, but with no purpose to follow, they will have a sense of like they're inferior to others. But those who have support, the mother is supporting them, the father is supporting them, they have friends and family who have educated themselves and who are very supportive. Those dandelions tend to thrive a little bit more. They tend to be more embracive of embracing their diagnosis better. So it's just like any other disease process, whether you are diabetic type 1, born with diabetes, if you are a sickle cell patient born with sickle cell, in and out of the hospitals. Your veins are, vigilant of being stuck over and over and over. It can provide the same self-doubt if you don't have a support system. So I try not to separate my dandelions just because it's HIV versus any other chronic illness, because the stigma and the feeling of wanting to be normal. I hear that a lot. I just want to be normal. Well, let's normalize what we consider normal. Like, what's normal? Am I normal just because I don't have a chronic illness? Like,
no. Brandi, you're reading, you're really feeling my spirit, and this is such a what we talked about in the opening, that it is a emotional, mental, spiritual disease. It affects all of those things, including the physical, but it's really affecting the spiritual and the emotional. That has an effect on the physical. So as you just talked about, people that are feeling love and are being loved, that are sharing love, they are having better outcomes. And so that's why and to normalize it really takes away a lot of the stigma that is, and stigma to me is being more concerned with what other people think about me than I am what I concern with with myself, how I look at me. And if we can kind of knock some of that out of the box, then I'm sure we would have much better outcomes. But those are the things that we can handle. Thank God science has gotten better over time, and now we have PrEP. And I know that you are working on a study, I believe, a study. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And I know that we've got some other folks. Dazon from Sister Love is going to be coming later on to talk maybe about some of the political part of it and all of that. But talk a little bit about Aptitude, the study, and the fact that Black women weren't really a part of PrEP studies early on, and the data. Is there data available for Black women? How are things working with PrEP?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I gotta give all praise to one of my mentors. We lost Hermione Bell. One of the things she taught me early in my career is that a lot of the medications did not study African Americans, and we were at the forefront of that disease process. And what she also told me was the efforts in getting African Americans, whether it be male or female, in these studies were very low. So after a few years of pharmaceutical companies recognizing that, they are now pouring into those who have the ability to get people to join the study. African Americans in general do not join studies, which we have a right to because of the history, right? And if you think about Miss Evers' Boys always comes up, in situations in which they utilized, the Black nurse and lies were told. It makes it look really terrible for people to join a study. And so Dr. Timms Cook and I are one of the sites for the Ebony study. The Ebony study is for Aptitude, and Aptitude is an injectable PrEP. I could say that 1,000 times, but it doesn't process. You can even probably ask my family members, and they'll be like, is a PrEP injectable? And I've been saying it probably for 5 years now. It's going to take a minute of us saying the same thing. This injection can be given, it's in the butt, the sacral muscle. The first 2 injections are 30 days apart. After that is every other month. The only thing you have to do is you have to, of course, be HIV negative. We do monitor your kidney and your liver with just a CBC and a CMP. If the provider sees fit, we monitor weight gain or weight loss. We monitor tolerability. We monitor injection site. Even if your skin keloids or don't tolerate the medication. The importance of this study is the Ebony study is for heterosexual and transgender females, African American females, and we are trying to get the data appropriate for us.
Cool. So that is great information, Brandi, and I'm so happy that you can join us today. I know that you are available for folks to make contact, and if they need more information regarding PrEP, if they need more information regarding the support groups with HeteroHIV, how can people contact you?
Yeah. So my job is so multifaceted. Of course, you can always call the HeteroHIV Society or Dr. Tim's Cook office. Someone there can always locate me as well. I do home visits as well with GMB Healthcare and Educational Services, and this is my own private company in which I do primary care. I do urgent care. And in this, I also do HIV PEP, and treatment. PEP is post-exposure, of course. I do STI treatment as well. And along with some of the, what we would consider just basic care that we need. I don't want people to focus on HIV. I want them to also remember hypertension, diabetes. I want them to remember the importance of unhealthy weight, or what some would say obesity. And Reggie, as you mentioned as well, we negate our mental health, stress migraines, dehydration because we don't eat enough, we don't drink enough. So my approach is holistic, but it does not leave out those that's diagnosed or have the HIV virus. I think some primary care focus on A, but they forget about B. And my goal is to bring it all together. I don't want someone just to focus on their HIV if they have high cholesterol.
As well, we definitely need to be normalizing all of the maladies that are affecting us as human beings, because that's what we are. We're human beings, and I'm grateful for the fact that this is Women's History Month, because you're making history right now.
Thank you.
Doing the work that you're doing, and we love you for it. And so I thank you very much, and thank you for sharing. We look forward to continuing our collaboration with HeteroHIV, and certainly, I'll see y'all when I come to the doctor's office.
Yes, thank you, Reggie.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. This is Brandi, Pinckney, Greene, and we've got more for you. But I want to remind you, we are having a giveaway, and if you can put your comments and your questions, we need you to put it in the chat in order for you to be eligible. So, we're giving away $100 at the end of the show. So stick around, put your comments and your chats, and we will be right back with more right after this.
Visit your vitamin lady today. If you know you need help learning how to heal, here's where you can trust the people and information. Try high-quality, delicious foods and tonics, and learn about and buy herbs and vitamins. Get personalized tonics based on your individual needs, prepared with love and intuition. To start or continue your journey towards wellness, visit your vitamin lady today.
Hello, hi, I'm Freda. I'm 41 years old. Yes, I'm 41. I just look young. 2002 is when I found out my status. I found out I was living with the virus. It was a scary moment when I first found out, but I didn't soak in it. I just said, wow, I need to educate myself so that way I can do something to help. I work for a private doctor's office that offers counseling to HIV positive individuals. My job is basically educating them about HIV and helping them live a longer life, by being compliant to the medication and being that support to them. HIV is so on the rise now. It's not only affecting men, it's affecting women as well, professional women, not just someone that's out there, using drugs. It's affecting mothers, women in the church. It don't discriminate. It's affecting married women. I get married women in my office and say, I didn't know my husband was positive, and they married. HIV is 100% preventable, 0% curable. So there's enough of us out here already living with the virus, so you don't have to be added to it.
Thank you, Freda. That's Freda Jones. She's another hero here in the Atlanta area that's been doing great work for a very long time. So as we move along, I just want to invite our next guest. She is Sheryl Jones. Sheryl M. Jones. She's a BS. She has a BS in psychology and a master's in counseling. She's certified as a spirit counselor and an ordained minister, a healer and a teacher, and just an all-around people person. She says she's a Southern girl raised in the New York suburbs. Being from the South Side of Jamaica, Queens, when she said suburbs, we mean that she's from probably the island somewhere. But she's a world traveler, and she's looking forward to seeing the good in every situation. She's spirit-led and she's spirit-driven. She's one of the authors on the from Sister Scribes that combined to author the book Shaking Off the Dust, Personal Narratives of Triumph. It's a book that is a masterful celebration of the power to not only overcome trials and heartache, but to emerge on the other side stronger and better. Each of the women, collectively known as Sister Scribes, vividly welcomes you into their world. And I'm sure that Sheryl is going to welcome us into her world as well with a wonderful story that's very touching. And so I'd like to put our hands together virtually and welcome Sheryl M. Johnson. Hey, Sheryl.
Hi.
How are you this day?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be a part of this. This is bringing back a lot of memories. I've known you a long time. I know Freda. I know your upcoming guest, Dazon. So I feel like I'm back with family. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're glad that, and we are family. And we've been doing this for a long, long time now. Thank God. We've had a lot of friends that have not survived, and we're a long-time survivor. How long have you known that you've been a host for the retrovirus called HIV?
Reggie, I have been living peaceably with the HIV virus for next month will be 29 years. Okay. And, I want to touch on something that Brandi said because it really struck with me about being normal. I never thought from the day I was diagnosed that this disease would kill me. I just figured out I have to figure out how to live with it, and I have to get educated about it and find out more. And so that's what I started doing from day one. And I am a strong believer that you have to be your own best advocate. You have to find out what's going on. You have to stay on top of medications and things that will help you, and you have to stay away from things that will not help you. And so I believe that is what's kept me going for 29 years, and I'm healthy and I keep reinventing myself, and it's a wonderful thing. Life is grand.
Yes, it is. And you definitely are reinventing yourself. I don't know who you would have been had it not. Who do you think you would have been had it not been for HIV?
I have no idea. I'm a firm believer. I am spirit-led and spirit-driven. So I have always gone whatever direction God points me in. And HIV certainly was never on my radar when I started hearing about it in the 80s. My attitude was, oh, well, this is a gay men's disease, like a lot of other people thought. And they didn't talk about how it was impacting heterosexual men or women. Right. But I decided after I was diagnosed that I really needed to be in the arena. I wanted to be in, as they say, in the room where it happened. So I got into the HIV community. I worked for a couple of different organizations. One of them led me to being a guest on Oprah Winfrey's show in the early 2000s. And I thought that was going to be the rest of my life. I thought that I would be in the HIV arena, and that turned out not to be so. Mm-hmm. And so after I left there, I went to work for Delta. I worked for Delta Airlines for 10 years, and I've been a traveler since I was 3. So that opened up a whole world to me of being able to do stuff like fly to San Francisco and have lunch and turn around and come back. I was able to visit Africa twice when my children were living there. I was able to go to Brazil to find out about my African orishas, the spirits that guide us. And so it was a wonderful experience. And then I left Delta, and it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? So that is when my book, Shaking Off the Dust, came into effect. I decided that one of the things I always wanted to do was become a published author.
Okay.
And I did not want to write about HIV. That's going to be a part of my memoir. But for this particular project, I wrote about my mother. And growing up with my mother suffered from bipolar syndrome, and she was very anti-medication. So if you know anything about bipolar, you know that it's a roller coaster. You're up,
Yeah.
you're down, and that's the way it is. So that made for a very interesting experience as I was growing up as an adolescent. But it was also an enriching one because I learned a lot about mental illness and how to deal with people who are suffering from mental issues. And it gave me strength, and it also gave me guidance about how to handle things like that. So that's kind of what led me into where I am now.
Yeah, you know, and I heard you say that you are spirit-led and spirit-driven.
Absolutely.
And one of the reasons I was glad to see you again, or reconnect with you at Hermion's Memorial, is, and then you told me about your experiences with Dr. Barbara King's church, and and the fact that you're an ordained minister.
Right.
And I know that we are having, like you said, I think many long-term survivors that have had positive outcomes have had positive attitudes. And at some point, you said bipolar. I think we're all bipolar. It's just a matter of how high or how low we go.
That's true.
For me, the drugs were what kept me, it balanced me out.
Right.
Early on. And I'm talking about, heroin and cocaine. So but that couldn't last for long. But now here we are. And I'm finding that people who are having great outcomes have a spirit connection as well.
Yes.
And I know I'm going to talk a little bit about your book, but talk a little bit about how important spirituality has been to your healing process.
For me, spirituality is key. I think that sometimes people have a difficult time embracing the idea that they are not in control of their lives, that God is guiding them. They don't want to accept that. They're afraid of that concept. But I find that the more you study and the more you learn, the easier it is to let go of feeling the need to be in control. Many of the people, especially women that I've met through support groups that I've been affiliated with, have been afraid to accept the diagnosis, afraid to tell their families, afraid to tell their children. Fear does nothing but hold you back. And if you can conquer that fear, and it doesn't happen overnight, you have to work at it. But if you can conquer your fears, you can live a normal life and not let the HIV control you, which I found in many cases was what was happening with people that I met, was that they were allowing the HIV to control them. Oh, I'm going to die. Eventually this is going to kill me. Well, if that's what your consciousness is and that's what you believe, then that's what's going to happen to you. So it's up to you to change what's in your consciousness. That's what I learned on my spiritual journey.
Right. And it really has been a process, really telling myself mantras, telling myself positive things.
Affirmations.
Affirmations. Even when I didn't believe them, to this day, when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm excellent. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Whether that's the case or not, that's what I choose to tell the cells in my body.
Right.
I'm doing excellent. And then we will manifest that. And so, I just wanted to really talk about that a little bit. And without going into the entire background of your book, just talk a little bit about, what your book is about, and that experience.
Sister Scribes is a group that I got involved with several years ago through one of my sisters from church who had written a book about women that had affected her life. And so I went to her book launch, and that's how I found out about the group Sister Scribes. And I was like, oh, this is what I need. I need to get with some African-American women that are doing some writing and producing something positive. And so I did, and eventually 7 of us, And 7 is a spiritual number. So we decided that we would get together and each person would contribute a chapter. And a lot of people know a lot about my background with HIV, but I just decided for this initial book, I did not want to focus on the HIV. I wanted to focus on something else that was particularly compelling in my life. And so that's why I wrote about my mother. She was a great influence to me. And I always felt like, gee, if I could only do more to help her get through what she's going through. But she only wanted so much help, you know, and there's only so much you can do when people offer you resistance. So basically all I could do was love her and help her as much as I could while trying to carve out a life for myself. So that's why I wrote about my mother, because I just felt like this is something that I want to share, because I know that there are other people out here that are dealing with situations like this.
Absolutely.
So that's why I wrote about her.
And that's a common thing that we all have mothers.
Absolutely.
Whether they've been in our lives or not.
Absolutely.
So there's a commonality. And as we were talking about with Brandi, it's really important that we maybe take some of the spotlight off of HIV and remember that we're all human beings having we're spiritual beings having a human experience together.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's the commonality. And so, you know, we really appreciate you for your journeys and willingness to share your experiences with the world.
Thank you.
The positivity that you're bringing to everything that is around you, everything that's around you. And I just love to hear the chimes that chimed in and brought us some
speak to me
from up above. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And so I just want to thank you very much, Sheryl. Thank you for your book. And once again, if you'd like to get Sheryl's book, it's called
Shaking Off the Dust, Personal Narratives of Triumph. It's available on sisterscribes.com. It's also on Amazon.
And it's a great read. We suggest that you get it. And once again, thank you very much, Sheryl.
You're very
and
welcome.
So we're going to ask you to stick around. We've got more. Our featured guest is a very wonderful person that I'll tell you more about in just a moment. So stick around.
Afternoon and evening.
I'm gonna say like evening.
I like the afternoon.
I think night. I think night.
Night. I would say in the morning because I have more energy and I'm more like, okay, let's go. So you probably gonna get the best nut right there in the morning for me.
Something about 2 p.m. for me. I don't know why. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I'll be at Publix or walking around. I'm like, fuck, what time is it? It has to be 2 p.m. because I'm so horny.
In the morning, we quick in the morning, but afternoon or night, yeah.
I don't like to do it after like I eat dinner. I don't like to have sex on a full stomach. Like, I be gassy. I don't want to be gassy. I don't want my stomach to hurt. Or have y'all ever tried giving head on a full stomach? Is the gag, no, it's just not it's not a fun experience. Night's always better. She's late night, after the club, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Especially if you're out with that person. It's almost like that suspense, that sexual suspense leading up into you getting home.
I just know I like it at night. I just feel like the vibe is set.
And at night, I'm way too tired and sleep is my priority. So when he'll try to kiss me, I'm like, no, I'm way too tired. Wake me up with some dick if that's what you're trying to do.
I hate morning sex because I hate morning breath. Do not touch me, but I like to kiss. I'm not getting that close to somebody in the morning. In the morning, it's just bro, I got work in an hour. Let's wrap this up.
Morning, afternoon, or night sex?
All of it.
Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah.
Let's dive into something important, and that's B-Doxy Pep by B Brand. I know it's not your typical conversation, but it is crucial for your well-being. So B-Doxy Pep is like an insurance policy, but for your sexual health. It's a one-time tablet that you take within 3 days of having unprotected sex. It provides protection against chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, helping you stay safe. Yes, that's right. Plus, this product has gained recognition and trust in reputable publications such as CNN, the New York Times, and Forbes. Even health departments in progressive cities such as San Francisco distribute it to help lower the rise in STD rates. So whether you're just enjoying your social life or preparing for the unexpected, B-Doxy Pep is there to support you. So stay informed, stay protected, and keep your health the top priority with B-Doxy Pep by B Brand.
I'm so happy that we can do this. We want to really kind of normalize the conversation around sex and just make it easier for us to be able to deal with HIV, STDs, or whatever it is straight on. And in that regard, our next guest has been a visionary, Dazon Dixon Diallo. She's a recognized visionary and an advocate in the struggle for human rights, sexual and reproductive justice, and the fight against HIV/AIDS with and on behalf of communities of color, women and girls living with HIV, and those at risk for HIV and STIs, sexually transmitted diseases. Dazon's the founder and the president of Sister Love, Incorporated, established in 1989, the first women's HIV/AIDS reproductive justice organization in southeastern United States. She's a proud member of In Our Own Voice, the National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda, where she advocates for sexual and reproductive justice in public health and prevention policies and programs. She's a member of several bodies of influence, including the Women at Risk Subcommittee and the Scientific Advisory Group of the HIV Prevention Trials Network, UNFPA, Global Advisory Council, the Women's Research Initiative, and a founding member of Sister Song Reproductive Justice Collective. She's a creator of the convener. She's the creator and the convener, both, of the Prevention Options for Women at Risk, POWAR Partnership, formerly the U.S. Women's and PrEP Working Group, and Women Now. She also is the co-chair for the Act Now End AIDS National Coalition. Until recently, Dazon served as a member of the NIH Office on AIDS Research Advisory Council and on the board of directors of the National Women's Health Network. In 2001, she opened a Sister Love program office in rural South Africa, a municipality in near Joburg, where the project focus is the capacity building and sustainability development for local women-led HIV/AIDS organization. That's a mouthful. That's a lot. And that's more than I can even, oh my God. Dazon she's received numerous awards, recognitions for over 30 years. She's been working in the HIV/AIDS. She's just been out in front of everything as far as women's health and human rights. She can be seen in her YouTube podcast, Visible and Unseen, HIV in Black Life, Then, Now, and Next. It is with great pressure and pleasure that I welcome my longtime friend and host of the WRFG 89.3 FM radio program Sisters Time Women Speak, Dazon Dixon Diallo to HeteroHIV. How you?
Hey. Whoa. Hey. I was sitting over here backstage going, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
No, it's uncomfortable. That feels uncomfortable sometimes, right?
Thank you,
no,
Reggie.
Like we were talking about before the show, I was like, how do you do it? Thank you for your time, by the way, and thank you for being there. I know you're so busy. And I know you got, how do you do it all? What the hell's going on? You're here, you're in South Africa.
You know what? I think Sheryl and Brandi just laid it out for me, because one of the things, just as Sheryl was talking, I was enveloped. I was really embraced, because I do embrace the alignment with the universe. And so I just keep moving where the universe tells me to go, places me where I'm supposed to be. And I accept that lot. So I don't know how I do it other than just do it because I'm supposed to. I'm blessed to be one of those folks who knew or understood my purpose very early in life. And the one thing that it's one thing to know your purpose, but it's the other one to know what life is like when you're not living on purpose, right? So what I quickly understood is that no matter what, up or down, whether people want to go with these binaries of good or bad, no matter what the experience is, it is divine. So it is what it is. Exactly. You know how there are people who say, everything happens for a reason. No, everything happens because it happens. And so that's why I do it. I say it happens, so let's figure this out. I'm a solutions-oriented person. I'm a problem solver, and I'm an Aries. So I just had a birthday. So I don't Thank you. I don't drop it. I'm in it to win it. And in this case, I'm in it to end it. So whatever it is we got to do, that's what we do. I'm just, that's the reality of it. And the minute I stop doing it, that's when I'm no longer in alignment, because I am not living with the purpose that I was brought here for in this particular experience. So,
and I can attest to that, in terms of even how it shows up, manifests physically. So we met in the early 90s on WRFG. I was doing the show, and my show was right before yours, so we would pass and hand it off every evening. And we had a mutual friend, Debbie, who was dealing with HIV at the time.
Yes, indeed.
At the time, I was on the air and I was sharing love and positivity, but I was definitely not speaking to my status, HIV being positive.
Mm-hmm.
But as it would turn out, not sharing and not being in the flow, it affected me. It manifested physically in the fifth chakra, which is the area of communications. Because even though I didn't think I was keeping a secret, I just minded my own business and finding a way to let it, I was still choking off the energy. And so, it for people who think that keeping a secret is cool, it's really not. It's not the best thing. And people who are not living in the flow of their life, who are not in purpose, that's not cool either. And I think that, COVID should have showed a lot of us that was the case, but I'm not sure that is.
We showed ourselves because, everything starts in Africa, everything, including humanity. So, and it was a Black woman who, brought that forth.
That's right.
So I just want to remind people that we are your mothers. And so the burdens that we carry and the blessings that we live with are all because we are that matriarch to the global experience of humanity, period. No dispute. So I say that because, and there's another conversation, and you'll be privy to it in a moment, because we're heading out to a prevention meeting in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be a Black conversation about how we keep creating things in our communities by us, for us, without the resources, without the glory, without the recognition. And then lo and behold, at some point, it's a great idea when someone else picks it up, decides to study it, gets a lot of money for it. But it's like, we've been here and we've been doing this. So what you just said brings me back around to one of the earliest campaigns that the American Red Cross got involved in, specifically focusing on educating African Americans about HIV. And they used 6 African proverbs. I don't know if you remember this campaign. It was amazing. The artwork was beautiful. It was African artists. I just found our 6 sets the other day. We're getting ready to get them all redone and framed for the Mother House. But one of the proverbs, now this is an old African proverb, so it speaks to what you're saying. One of the proverbs says, he or she, let's make it gender inclusive, they who fail, or they who don't tell their illness cannot expect to be healed. I paraphrased it very badly, but that's essentially it. If you don't tell somebody, if you don't talk about it, if you don't give it the voice, right, so that the things that may be available to you, someone who might be there to help you, right? All the Brandis can't do what they need to do if you don't present and say, I need. Same thing for the sister loves, and the same thing for people who want to know how to move through, how to not just weather through, but how to triumph through. You got to talk to Sheryl. You got to ask Sheryl. You got to say, what's in that book that might help me? You have to speak to it, period.
That's right. That's with all things. That's with all things. Everything is interconnected, but if you're not sharing honestly, if you're not living authentically, then we're missing a piece. We're blocking the chain. You're getting in the way of our own selves.
That's right.
So, I'm glad you mentioned something though, and it's something that maybe you can help me with, because I'm, just such a visionary. Where in the hell did all this talk about pronouns and cisgender? Where did this come from, and why?
So, I love that question. I think I don't know the true path of that history, but what I can tell you is that language is fluid, and particularly important in our language, and this is English, because English it's literally called an imperial language for lots of reasons, right? But what I think happens in the linguistic of where it comes from is that whenever people are living in the margins, whenever people are, and this can be LGBTQ, but it can also be Black folk, right? Black folk owning the N-word, that's a whole nother debate. But the question could be, where did that come from and why did that happen? It's because we had to claim for ourselves who we are. We name ourselves who we are, because if not, someone else will name us from their view and their perspective and their worldview, which if it's rooted in white supremacy or patriarchy or homophobia or transphobia or xenophobia, what you call me is probably not what I want to be called. So when it comes to the pronouns, right, the first thing is you're going to see me. And you're going to see me for who I say I am, not for who you think or want me to be, right? And so when I say, I identify this way, and these are the words you will use to describe me, that is an assertion of power. That is an assertion of self-determination. It is an assertion of bodily autonomy. It is one of the things, aside from just saying, I am of a different human experience than what your social system has constructed in this binary space. Binary serves nothing anytime, really. There's never any all good, all bad, all up, all down, all male, all female, all gay, all straight. It doesn't serve us to look at it. It's about the experience that we live. And if some folks don't even need the pronoun. They say, my name is my name, and you call me by my name. And that's their right to say that. And it's also the right to say, you know what? Call me what you want. I'll tell you what I am if I choose to. And if I don't, I'll be all right. And that's okay too. We have to also be in spaces, and this is the part I get a little about. You also have to be in spaces where it's okay to not share your pronouns if you don't choose to, simply because there's the other part of me being identified by somebody else. Don't even want to get into this whole debate around who gets to call who cisgender versus trans and the rest of it, because again, call yourself what you want and tell me what you want, but I'm going to call me what I want, and it has nothing to do, and it does not diminish or destroy or take away from who you are or your right to be who you are.
Right. Well, that's about as comprehensive as an explanation as I've ever gotten. And I appreciate that. I know that self-definition, being able to define ourselves, is very important, not to let somebody else try to define me. And, and taking a stand as far as that's concerned. My concern is that I want to make sure that we all remember that we're all human beings.
Right.
And that it doesn't matter if you're, how you define yourself, that we're all human beings as it pertains to not only HIV, but everything else, but specifically to HIV because of the stigma that's involved and the way that judgment has separated us. And more importantly, for heterosexuals, because of the dominant narrative of HIV being that it's a gay disease, and the LGBTQ, and Sheryl probably can tell you the same thing, and a lot of my other heterosexual brothers, we went into the gay spaces to get information and camaraderie, and to fight for our lives. And a lot of heterosexuals did not and do not do that, and so they're not getting information. And as a consequence, the epidemic is perpetuating itself. Because of behaviors and actions of uninformed people or people that just that are not getting it. So I just wanted to make sure that go ahead.
Yeah, so I think what you're raising there are a few things, and some of it is off the conversation that you've also had with Brandi. There are a few things I think are really important for us to stick with and keep in our minds when we're thinking. So first, I want us to sort of deconstruct some of this American exceptionalism or U.S. exceptionalism and the HIV exceptionalism, right? So more than half of all the HIV in the world is in cisgender heterosexual women.
Wow.
Okay. Cisgender. So we don't even know the full totality of it in terms of inclusiveness of trans women and people who are assigned female at birth, right? Or gender expansive folks. But if more than half and 2/3 of all of those women are of African and Black descent, right? So we're having sex with people, and Black women in the United States pretty much as one grouping of ethnic and racial identities stay within our race and our ethnicity with our relationships more than anybody else does. So it's Black men, regardless of who they're having sex with, from whom HIV is being contracted, right? Or being experienced. And we got to start remembering and thinking about it in that way, because for that reason, and I know time is up, but this is critical because you and Brandi talked about it. And I think people have to understand, because things have changed and are changing. Two things. Tuskegee was horrible. Tuskegee was awful. Tuskegee was something that was done in a time in which that was actually the norm, so to speak. That was what we were struggling against all that while, was dehumanizing and subjugating Black human bodies, right? So let's understand that was terrible. But just like any and everything else around democracy in this country, it is through Black people's resilience and our resistance that we change things off our own backs. So even though Tuskegee was bad, right? Because of Tuskegee, we have data safety monitoring boards. We have institutional review boards. We have community advisory boards. We have protocols. We have informed consent. None of that existed for most people prior to Tuskegee being blown. That's one. The second one is because of the rate of incidence of HIV among women in the United States, we have never qualified enough incidents to be in a phase 3 or a bigger HIV prevention study. So up until this year, 2023-24, no women in the United States, cisgender women in the United States, have ever participated in a prevention clinical trial because we didn't have enough to prove anything by. That doesn't mean that we should have been excluded, right, as women, period, from the Scovey study, right? So let's be clear about that second daily PrEP pill trial that we know that we don't have access to because of implications. So closing it out with understanding this part, because I'm so glad you mentioned Debbie. We've been saying it forever. With this particular epidemic, this particular virus, when you resolve it for Black women, you will resolve it for everybody. Period. So you can't exclude us. You can't leave us out. You can't keep acting like we don't know our own solutions. You can't act like the things that we're coming up with, right, aren't possibles and aren't things that should work, because you're wanting to invest in something that still sits within a structure that was never built for us in the first place.
Right. And
so I didn't know if I was getting that political. I needed to make sure we plugged our policy agenda. I need to make sure that we plugged our 2024 policy agenda that represents so much of what we're talking about. It's not just HIV. It's about immigrant justice, HIV, access to PrEP. It's about abortion access. It's about comprehensive sexual health education for everybody, not just kids in public schools. These are the things that we're looking at from all kinds of angles. And almost everything we do, Reggie, comes because somebody that we're serving in our community said, have you thought about doing it this way? If I were this, if you could do this for me in my life, this might work for me. And that's what we're finding works. Meet people where they want to be met, because we don't always know where they are.
And you've always been such a visionary and great at doing that. I definitely walk in your footsteps. We walk together, as a heterosexual Black man that's diagnosed. Like you said, we have to really, we see so much dearth of information and representation, and that's the problem. And yes, the triple cross was with Tuskegee, but don't get sucked in by the trauma. We still got to move forward. It's just a consequence of where we are. And so we thank you, for all that you do here and all across the globe. And the Mother House is testing. We showed that you can go in to the Mother House here in Atlanta, Georgia to get tested.
And the Healthy Love Bus is on these streets. We have a sexual and reproductive health mobile clinic with a PA system. So we are ready to join a party near you with some health care.
That's what I'm talking about, meeting them where they at.
Exactly.
So look, Dazon, it's always a pleasure. We could talk forever, and I'm sure, hopefully, God willing, if we can squeeze in some time, maybe we can link up in these Joburg streets and do some recording over there.
Please come see us. Please come see us.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time. All right. I love you very much. Hey, it's been loads of fun, but we got to run. And much love to and thanks to Gilead Sciences for the funding and the supporting of this series. I hope that you put your name or put some comments in the text so that you can be a part of what we're getting ready to do. I want to thank our team, Ty Freeman and Tanisha Baker, for their help with this web show. And of course, thanks to our wonderful producer, Matt Schick, for keeping us on track, making sure everything runs smooth. Special thanks to all of those who participated in the program. As promised, we're going to give away about $100 for right now for someone who come on, let's run this giveaway and see who can win some money. We want to, an incentive for you to join us in the show. Yo, Matt, what do you think? We have any entries? Let's go. We can give away this $100. $100 to the winner. Push the button. Let's go. Round and round and round it goes. For a win, nobody knows. The winner is Shanta Harper. Shanta Harper, you're the winner of $100. Please, we're going to make sure that you get your $100. Please give us your contact information in the chat. Give us a phone number or something like that, and we'll get right back to you. We'll be here. We're here the last Thursday of each month, and you can find us on demand and recordings on Facebook and on YouTube at the page at the RDSF. We encourage you to join the Wellness Awareness Recovery Network, which is our virtual community that is a safe space for sharing healing solutions. Our contact information will be on the screen after the closing credits. And one of my heroes, Harriet Tubman, said she freed hundreds of slaves, but she could have freed thousands more had they only known that they were slaves. Harriet might not have been as focused on what history would say about what she was doing at the time. She simply did what was necessary to make herself and others free. We thank God for our women heroes, and we got to speak with tonight. Thanks to Brandi Pinckney Greene, to Sheryl M. Johnson, and to Dazon Dixon Diallo for their time and energy. Yesterday is history and tomorrow is still a mystery, so let's just keep the focus on what's going on right now. And if we do that, I'm sure we'll have our hearts and minds in the right place. Remember, unity does not need uniformity. We all want to be loved, so let the healing continue. Until the next time, it's your man, Reggie Smith. Peace and blessings.